Hi guys, it's me. It's Tiffany. You're here for Tiffany TV. My name is Tiffany Price Murray, also known as TiffanyDIRA. I am a transformational life coach and channeler of divine source energy. And we are here today to go through the stories and lessons of my own life and hope that in some way it benefits you and that you can receive insight, guidance, healing, understanding, based on what is going on in my own life. Okay, so yesterday was a doozy. I don't want to say that I apologize for my behavior because I think that there is so much strength in being vulnerable. And I think that there is something to be said about being truly authentic and just letting it all hang out. But as you can see, cleansing is a challenge. Cleansing, the cleansing portion of your chakra expansion is always, in my opinion, the most challenging part of that 3-part series between cleansing, energizing, and implementation. I always find cleansing the most challenging because it is constantly bringing everything to the surface. It's constantly bringing everything to the surface that you are still holding on to, that you still have to let go of. So it can be a very emotional time. And I don't want to say that I am not an emotional person because that would be a lie. My husband would totally call me out on that, and my friends would be like, you are totally full of shit if you don't say that you are emotional. But I am not very often caught up by emotion in a way that I'm not able to just put on my game face. Let's just say that. So yesterday, when I had a little Tiffany moment, not that it caught me by surprise, but it definitely showed me a few things about my life that are really important for me to realize right now. And one of them is that when I feel an emotion that is that strong and that overwhelming and that immediate, like I did when I heard the girl's story on the podcast with Aubrey and Matias, it's a signal for me to pay attention, pay attention right now. And I feel as though through my journey of awareness and through my journey of awakening and learning and education and knowing more about who I am and what is going on and the world around me and the potentials for what is happening after or whatever, that I have moved through these times of enchantment where everything is new and everything is exciting, and then you sort of move through these times of like disenchantment where it's the contraction and the expansion, you have to feel the contraction in order to experience the expansion, but you almost wish for a second awakening where you're like, I wish that I was as enchanted as I was in the beginning, because right now maybe I know too much, maybe I'm learning too much, maybe I'm reading too much, and maybe I should just like reel it in and enjoy my life instead of just constantly challenging myself and pushing myself to be more, because the truth is that we can learn so much just from our everyday life, even when we are not striving for the next thing. So I am learning that. I'm also learning that what I think may be true is actually not true. And I'll get to that in a minute. But when I think that I am not living a moment of synchronicity and of divine guidance and movement into my life being a certain way, I am just either being impatient or I'm not seeing it. I'm not looking. I'm not being present in my body, in my awareness. I'm like getting lost in my mind on this journey to my soul. And that when you get lost in your mind, it's important to ground into your body and really be in the here and the now, in your body, in your physicality, in this moment in time and space on earth, so that your soul can speak to you in your body. Because when you sort of detach from this idea, you're like, oh, this doesn't matter. And now I've learned this type of thing where I can just not care about these types of things, not care about what's going on around me and the stories and everything, then you kind of get lost in this detachment where you sort of don't identify with your body as much anymore, but you become unaware of being present. And that's a hard thing, because you get a little bit lost in your mind, which is really, it's a really easy thing to do. And prior to the awakening, you just didn't even know you were lost in your mind. Your mind was telling you all kinds of things, and you just were completely unaware of it. You didn't even know about the thoughts streaming through your mind. You didn't know about your subconscious beliefs. You didn't know about your limitations. You didn't know about any of your like things that were keeping you small. And then when you become aware of it, it's like a whole new ball game. So clearly I have expectations about where I'm meant to be on my journey, or what is supposed to be happening in my life, that are either being unmet or that I am disappointed about, because otherwise I wouldn't have moments like yesterday. But I feel like everybody goes through those things. I feel like I'm not the only one. And I feel like anyone who says that they don't go through those moments of contraction and expansion are full of shit or lying. And so I guess to be real and vulnerable and just be me, I can be okay with that, because I know my intentions are true and pure, and that I'm not intending to hurt anybody, and most of all, definitely not intending to hurt myself. So that's it. Okay. So then I was listening to my Audible today, and it is The Secret to Manifesting Abundance or Money by Joe Vitale. And he said a quote that summed it all up, and it kind of closed everything, and I felt really good. It said, if you feel like the world is stopping you, it is only so that you can pause, regroup, and then do something different. And so maybe I'm the one that's blind and missing the point, and I will need to sit down and ask myself exactly what that means for me. Okay, so when I was saying that maybe what I think is the truth is not actually the truth, and you think that something that is going on inside of your mind is actually not what is going on in reality. And so when I heard the girl's story and I was like, oh, her synchronicities and her this and her life and is going in this moment where it's just she's being guided and she's going to Argentina and she's doing all of these amazing things, and Divine is telling her exactly what she needs to hear in order to move to the next moment. And she's manifesting all of these amazing things, and then feeling sad for myself because I'm not doing the same thing, which is actually totally not true. And it came smacking me right in the face last night. I was at work and I met this amazing, amazing woman who I've never ever seen or known before. She was with another friend of mine who is my best friend's cousin, and they were so lovely. They were eating their dinner, and just before they were finished, she looks at me and she goes, I don't know what's going on between you and I get a vibe about you. Like, what's your story? Why don't you tell me? Like, as much as you want to share, as little or not, but tell me what's your story in 2 minutes. And I was like, I love that. First of all, I ask people that all the time, like, oh, you're new to me. I don't know you. What's your story? Because everybody has a story to tell. And then it definitely gives them a safety net to share what they want and keep what they don't. And I told her, I'm like, dude, I'm an open book. Like, my story is not summed up in 2 minutes. This could take a while, but I think it's a great question when you meet someone new, because you can get so much insight into who and what a person is and what they believe and how they act, and so much with that simple phrase, like, what's your story? So she asked me, and I started telling her a bit about growing up, how I've grown up here my whole life, but I've traveled all around the world. And then I used to go to underground dance parties, and I raved all through my teenage years, and that I was basically always chasing vibrations. And I didn't realize that until I was a little bit older, that the whole reason I wanted to stand in front of these massive, massive speakers and listen to house music till 6 a.m. was because I just was wanting to feel the vibrations going through my body. And the whole concept of like unity and love and respect and peace and coming together and radical acceptance and seeing people and knowing and loving people for exactly who they were, and dancing with drag queens, and just, that the 90s, it was so magical that we could go out as kids, as teenagers, and dance in these like mud hole warehouses to this underground music and just love each other for exactly who we were without any judgment, and be a family for each other was really special and really spectacular. So then I was telling her about how I traveled all around the world, even though I was a small town girl. I lived all around the world, that I've been married to my husband for 20 years, that I have 2 beautiful children. Started telling her this, and then telling her about my sliding doors moments, because she was asking me about how my husband and I have stayed together for this long. And, she said, do you have any advice? And I told her my number one marriage advice, which is turn toward your partner, especially when you feel like you want to turn away from them. That is the time that you need to turn toward them the most. And so we started talking about how there was like these sliding doors moments. And it happened that once I got sober and was not partaking in drugs and alcohol anymore, that there was like a shift in my being, and I started opening myself up and being available and open to a new vibration and a new possibility for my life. And so then I met Lubna, and I learned how to channel, and everything after that was just like totally different, completely different. I've healed my addictions. I don't have depression. I don't have anxiety. Like minor things here and there, but certainly nothing like what I used to live. And it really showed me how, through all of these stories and periods in my life, there have been moments of like synchronicity, exactly like the girl in the story, that have happened in my life, that in that moment when I was sad that it wasn't happening right now, I was forgetting about all of those other times. So the example that I gave her was, I had a picture outside of my bedroom door that was a vision board, and it said, "G'day, mate. Getting to Australia, it's never been this easy." And I made this beautiful vision board of all of Australia things, and I had it outside of my bedroom door. And every day that I would leave my bedroom, I would walk by and I would read that sign and look at those pictures of us in Australia and say, "Oh, g'day, mate. Getting here has never been so easy." And then literally not even a year and a half later, I was on a plane going to Australia with my family, my husband, who didn't work away anymore, with our children who had never, ever, ever spent that much time with him ever in their entire lives of being at 8 and 10 years old, on a trip around the world, that we had taken them out of school and that we were traveling for 217 days around the world schooling and being together and traveling and moving. I kind of, not that I forgot that happened, but in my moment of sadness yesterday, when I was thinking about how these synchronicities and things don't happen, I wasn't thinking about that. And that's what it is about cleansing. It's like, if I still am holding on to something now that is blocking me from doing that again, or from having an experience where I can be expansive in a whole new way, but that there is something I'm still holding on to about that it's going to rise up in cleansing, and it's going to be highlighted to you, and it's going to be showing you your limitations that are keeping you from allowing divine movement and flow and energy to go through you freely. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. And so I thank you for showing me that. It was definitely an enlightening moment. I even stopped in the middle of the sentence telling the story, and I was like, Oh, yeah. I think I was supposed to be remembering this, and then here it is right here in front of my face. So, if I review my life story, I would say there have been many, many, many magical moments. And I would say there are many, many, many magical moments that are to come. And just because I am here right now, which is in fact exactly what I wished for, like I wished where I am right now is what I wished for 7 years ago, 8 years ago, when I was struggling with addiction, when I was having a really hard time with depression, when I was moving through every single winter being suicidal and like feeling like I wanted to run away and I didn't want to be anywhere and do anything. And I just wanted to climb under a blanket and hide from the world. Exactly what I was feeling then and dreaming of and wishing for peace and stillness and happiness and just to be grounded and be content with where I am and have a beautiful house and my family be healthy and strong is exactly what I have today. And 7 years ago, I didn't have that. And so from that point, what I was dreaming of and what I was manifesting has come to pass. It's just today, now I'm dreaming and I'm manifesting something completely different that I know is waiting for me. I know it is waiting for me right over here. And in time, through the passage of time, I'm going to make it there. And you know what? Probably when I get there, I'm going to be like, oh, but hey, I want to have this and I want to do this and I want these things. And I guess that's just the nature of life. That's how things keep moving. It's how we evolve and progress and create and manifest and make all things new. Okay, so today, what are we talking about? Today, we're talking about the fourth dimension and what the fourth dimension is and what it means and why so many of us are struggling right now with this change from understanding the third dimension, moving into the fourth dimension, and then coming into the fifth dimension. So the fifth dimension, when we talk about that, it's not that we're actually like physically going to be in the fifth dimension, because if you're in the fifth dimension, you aren't physical and you can't be physical in the fifth dimension, but you can have a fifth dimension mentality and fifth dimension understanding and capacity to hold light in a fifth dimension resonance while you still exist in the third dimension. Because the third dimension, which is physicality, which is where we are right now, we are not moving our whole selves into this higher dimension. We are moving and upgrading and expanding our capacity to understand. Also through resonance vibration. So there are matches to those different dimensional resonances that are also like vibrational levels that once you resonate at so many vibrations per second, that you then are a match to that frequency. Okay, so right now most of us are in the third dimension, which is related to solar plexus, and then we're moving up into fourth and understanding from fifth, and fifth is where we actually are able to manifest and create with sound and use our voice to basically create anything that we want. But before that, we move into heart, which is fourth. It's the portal. It is the bridge between the higher and the lower. What is the difference between understanding in the third dimension capacity and understanding in the fourth dimension capacity? Well, the fourth dimension is adding infinity and eternity. So these concepts are like huge, huge concepts. So when you think about time and you think about time being infinite, you're like, what does that even mean? When you think about your soul or your being or your existence, the energy that you are being infinite and eternal, it means that there is no end. It means that it goes on forever and ever and ever. So what we are learning about the cosmos and the stars, excuse me, as we view the visible universe, it keeps extending and going farther and farther and farther. It is not that the cosmos is growing necessarily, but it is that our ability to witness and view further and further and farther away is expanding. And that's sort of like our capacity to understand. It's a very good metaphor actually for the two. Because let's say like hundreds of years ago, or even 100 years ago, they thought the universe was like this. And then all of a sudden, as the telescopes and as science and as things go further and further and further and further in our understanding, it just keeps getting vaster and faster and faster. What we understand is that there is no actual end. It just keeps going forever and infinitely forever, which is almost impossible for our brains to understand. Like, how do you understand infinity? And this is what I want to tell you, because I saw this and it really absolutely blew my mind. My beautiful friend Jamie sent me this thing on Instagram, and it was like, we're going to try to understand the cosmos. So if you imagine that for every single sun, for every single star, there is at least 1.6 planets. And so you think about how many suns and stars there are in this universe or this galaxy, which is the Milky Way galaxy. And you think about that and how many, it's like 144,000 times 10 to the power of 23 zeros. Okay. And so then you have to multiply planets for each one of those things. And again, I told you, don't listen to me about math because I'm terrible for math, but I'm going to put the link in the bottom so that you can read the whole Instagram post yourself. In the end, what it said was that if we associate for the number of planets for every single grain of sand there exists on Earth, that you would need to have 10 billion planets where there is possible intelligent life, where there is other worlds, where there is all kinds of things going on that we can't even imagine, different forms, different flowers, different trees, different air, different gases, different whatever. For every grain of sand, it's 10 billion. I don't even think it's 10. I honestly think it's 100. I think it's 100 billion. 100 billion planets for every single grain of sand on the entire planet of Earth. So think about every beach. Think about the entire ocean. Think about every single grain of sand. 100 billion planets. And then people try to say that we are the only intelligent life forms that exist. That's like the biggest joke of existence that is like not possible. I'm going to say, dun, 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 and Star Wars is real. For real. 100 billion planets for every single grain of sand. And that is just their estimate of what we know from what we can see in the, like, how big we think the cosmos are right now. Think about that. That's like that concept of infinity, like, and then infinity just keeps going and going and going. So what is this showing us? Infinity. Things are never ending, which means that when energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it means that when we leave this place and we leave this experience, that our energy just changes form, and then we go to someplace else, or we do someplace else, and then we come back, or maybe we go there, or maybe we go to this planet, or we go to this vibration, or we go to this thing. But the fact is that when what we understand as the end, which to us is death, it's not actually the end. It's just stopping this life. And it could be the start or the birth of something completely different that we can't even understand right now. So it is that there is always a start. There is always a change in the middle, which is our lives. And then there is a stop, which is kind of an end, but not really, because it's really just the start of something new. So if you imagine a baby inside of a belly of a mother, and that baby is in there and it's like squirming all around, and it believes that its entire world is the inside of its mother, and it can hear voices, and it feels very warm, and it can feel her heartbeat, and it's getting fed all of its nutrients. It has everything that it needs. Never would that baby imagine what is going on the outside of where they are existing in this moment. And that when they go through the birth canal, which I'm sure feels like a little bit like death, that it's actually the birth of something completely new, which is super exciting. So what happens when you start understanding infinity, when you're moving into the fourth dimension, is that you start releasing your fear of death. You release this idea that this is the end. Like our life that we live ends, and then there's nothing, or there's whatever, that you have a finite amount of time to get something done or to do something and be something. But that when you understand, it just loops and it goes through and through and through and through. The question that I have today, which is our call to action, is if you released your fear of death, how would you live your life differently? Like, how would you live this life differently if you weren't afraid of death anymore, if you didn't think that death was the end, because you understood that you are infinite and you are eternal, and that you are going to keep going on and on and on and on and on forever, but in a different form, in a different way, maybe in a different place, maybe in the same place. Like maybe I'm going to just keep living this life of Tiffany over and over and over and over again until I figure it out, until I am so good at this life of Tiffany that I just smooth sail through all of my challenges, and I just rise to every occasion, and I thrive. How would you live your life differently if you release your fear of death? That's my call to action today. Okay, like, subscribe, comment, all of those. Please tell me how you would live your life differently if you understand the concept of infinity and you just release your fear of death. Okay, we'll do a channel and then we'll be done. Thank you for holding space for me. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I hope you have a day filled with love. Okay, let's see what Divine's going to say to us today. I am divine. We are one. And what we would say is that with each level of awareness, with each expansion of understanding, with each increase in the capacity to put in order the aspects of your existence, you allow yourself room to push the boundaries, to expand the edges of your limitations, to hold within you a higher vibration of light. And we know that this light is a concept that is vague and does not bear weight or carry meaning in the same weight and bearing that it holds. For what we would like to stress and for you to understand is that this light that moves through your body, these streams of white light, of golden light, of crystalline light, carry embedded within it the potential for all possibilities, the infinite expansion available to you at any given moment. The possibility for radical healing and transformation. And creation on a level that you have never ever witnessed on earth before. What we would say is that the strength and capacity that is held within this light is on a level that is inconceivable by your brains at this moment. But with every single awareness and acceptance of concepts that may be new to you, in releasing old structures that no longer serve you, and in the embodiment of your new knowing, you not only raise your vibration, but you raise the vibration of all those around you. You influence the ones who stand next to you, the ones who you love on the other side of the world, your family and friends near and far, and even those entangled in oneness on the farthest reaches of the cosmos. For what you must understand is that all of life is interconnected, that all of life is linked and joined by threads of connection and love. That the capacity for you to love, to show gratitude, to hold space, and be still is the highest form of devotion and adoration that you can give not only to yourself, but to others. That the incessant need and desire to do, that is the weight of your current collective, will fall away in the coming times like shedding an old skin, like shedding an old coat from a winter past that is no longer needed. We give thanks. We give thanks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. Ciao for now.